Hey guys, just a quick one here. We've all heard the news about Victor Wembanyama. If you haven't, well, he was diagnosed with a condition called deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder, and it's a pretty serious injury. It is a situation where the body will create blood clots, which can actually kill you. And so he's going to miss the remainder of the season, and it's a very unfortunate thing, very unfortunate news. And for a lot of people, they knew that this might happen. Something like this might happen to Victor when he came into the league, just because the way he is, the structure of his body. He's very thin, and a lot of people talked about the possibility that he could get hurt. Over a year ago, there was this video on YouTube that is entitled "Victor Wembanyama Will Get Hurt in the NBA." Doctor explains, and there was a lot of talk about this when he came into the league, as there always is with a guy that's like him, kind of a very tall player, really skinny. A guy like, Sean Bradley comes to mind, among others. But at any rate, this was something that was always a risk with Wembanyama. As great of a player as he is, there is the injury factor, and that really goes for most NBA players. I don't think there's very many guys out there that play 82 games a season for any extended period of time. But at any rate, unfortunate news there for anybody who has Victor Wembanyama on their team and the San Antonio Spurs, and not to mention Victor himself. This is the worst news for him, of course. So, at any rate, I want to switch gears now over to how this impacts a team in this league, the NBA Retro League. And basically, here's how it goes down. It's just I want to talk about the rules for the playoffs. As you may or may not know, I know this is a newer league, and some of you are new to the league. We do a postseason playoffs. We do not base our playoff results on regular season games like as they're happening. Like most leagues, they start their playoffs like in the last 3 weeks of the season, and they use stats from those games to determine the winners. I've never liked that system because late in the season, a lot of players are being held out, and sometimes they're even taken, just basically put on the sidelines to preserve them for future seasons. And this happens when a team doesn't have any shot at making the playoffs. So the rule in this league is basically this: when it comes to a team's players' availability in the postseason, if they are listed as out for the season due to a serious injury such as the one to Victor Wembanyama, that means they cannot participate in the postseason playoff draw. Now, if a team has just decided to put a player on the shelf because they don't want to risk him getting hurt, perhaps they want to maintain his trade value next year or in the off season, or maybe they just want to maintain his health for the future. There's nothing to gain by playing him. Then, in that case, where a guy's just being, shelved for the season, but if they were going to make the playoffs, it's very likely he would play. That will be determined, and that player, if he is determined that he's healthy enough to play, should they have made the playoffs, then in this league, he will be eligible for the postseason draw. This is up for debate. If I determine that a player is out, I say, well, he's out. And you say, hey, wait a minute. You do some research and find that the team is just basically shelving him. That's up for debate. But I'm pretty good at looking into this, and I will always look for any reason to allow you to use your players in the postseason draw. And talking about the postseason draw, just to clarify on that, basically I draw stats at random from the regular season, and I use a combination of a dice roll. I have several dice, and then I have stacks of cards, all having, corresponding, each of the cards in each deck corresponds to a game period. And so I roll the dice first to determine which stack I'm going to draw from, and then I draw that. That way it's very random. And a player cannot draw the same game period within the same playoff series. So just to clarify that, we do a postseason draw again. This is unlike most fantasy basketball leagues. And this is because I don't like doing the playoffs late in the season when, it's just nothing makes sense a lot of times down the stretch. And in fact, I often will just completely throw out the last week of the season when it comes to the playoff draw. I'm not sure what I'll do this year, but that's something I did in previous seasons. As you know, in this league, you get 48 minutes per position. That means 48 minutes at center, 48 at power forward, and so on and so forth. And in a game, you can get as many as 240 minutes. And should you fall short in those minutes, well, you get zero for any minutes you don't have a player to fill the minutes for. Hope that makes sense. At any rate, again, Victor Wembanyama out for the season. Very unfortunate news for the Denver Nuggets in this league. That's AJ Nardi's team. But he's going to have to do some shifting in order to get around this injury. If you look at his roster here, he does have Nick Richards as a center, but Richards has missed a lot of games this season, and he doesn't really play a lot of minutes when he does play. They do have Domantas Sabonis, who can be moved over to the center position. Trace Jackson Davis and Nikola Jovic would be the power forward duo at that point. They might be able to do something with, say, Kevin Durant, maybe move him over to power forward. They're going to have to do a little bit of shifting. And of course, when I do the box scores, I will automatically shift players around at their qualified positions in real life. In this league, for simplicity's sake, there's only one position per player. That's just for, when I'm doing the box scores, it makes it way more simple for me. Last year, I tried to allow multiple positions, and I found myself taking way too much time to do box scores as I was shifting players around. And when they play more than one position, and almost everybody on the team does, believe me, it gets really hairy. It's a big time headache. I want this league to be fun for you guys, but I also want it to be fun for me when I'm doing the box scores, when I'm doing the spreadsheets. This is a very realistic league. It's very unlike most leagues. I don't know of any leagues that you can join publicly that are anything close to what this league is like. When it's concerned with the 48 minutes per position, the salary cap, real life salaries of players, and the postseason draw. This is a very unique league, and I enjoyed a lot, but I also have to make it friendly for me to run it in order to stay with it. Otherwise, at some point, I'd probably just get frustrated if it was too much work and maybe just one day be like, oh, sorry, I'm folding up shop. I've had enough of this. And you don't want that to happen. At any rate, just a little touch and bases there, guys, on the rule towards injuries. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to end this video. Take it easy, everyone. Talk to you later.